And then there's a piece that I wanted to work with on Michelle on, which is an adaptation of work from her book Paper Crusade, which is going really well. And we've just been working on we've just finished the script as we speak today. Mm-hmm. We've been doing lots and lots of workshops, haven't we?
Yeah.
And it's the most meta theatre piece of theatre you'll ever see in your life.
It really is, isn't it? Theatre to dance to poetry, back to dance.
Yeah.
Back to poetry.
So tell me how you got to there from the book.
Okay, well, shall I leave you to?
Yeah. Well, okay. So as you know, Paper Crusade had this inspiration in Crystal Pite's choreography, and it was always a dream of mine to somehow write this book and then have it created by dancers on stage. And when I met Mick, which was actually through Jill Abram, about a year and a half ago, something like that. Yeah, I think it was the summer of 2022 now. When we kind of sat down and had a chat about it, Mick and I think it was kind of a very quick meeting of the minds, not only because he really, really likes Shakespeare and he's a huge fan of The Tempest, but he also knows a lot about dance. And his son is a professional dancer. So very quickly, I think, there was some sense between us that we were interested in using dance as part of what the new piece was going to be. So now we have two dancers, Mick's son Jan, and then also a French dancer named Eloise Fry. And they have been a really big part of the workshops that we've had. We've been workshopping since about probably January of last year. February of last year. Yeah. And when we've had these workshops, we've looked at some of the poems, we've looked at what we want to do as a story. Because one of the things that I think became important was that we weren't just going to put the book on stage and have everything acted out by, there's already an audiobook, like Cherry arranged for an audiobook, which was a fantastic thing because, I got to see how professional actors read my words. And it was a really incredible experience to kind of have that exists for me. And so I think it's important that we were doing something different again.
Yeah.
And what we've ended up doing is using bits and pieces of the poems. We've taken a lot of the characters out again. So the focus is really on the daughter and the father and the boy. And it's turned into a piece with all of this workshopping with Jan and Eloise that has a lot of dance in it and explores themes of control and, one-upmanship and revenge. So it's taking a lot of the themes that are already in the book, but again, we've created something new, and it's we've given it a different name. The title is Storm Child. And so it's sort of the daughter is this kind of storm child character, and, stormy, obviously the storm in the Tempest kind of storm, but also these interior storms and emotional storms and that sort of thing. It's been a really exciting process because I've never worked, my theater background ended when I was about 18 doing, a little plays, with people at school or whatever, but never anything where I've worked with people who actually are professionals on stage. And so I think for me, it's been this really fascinating experience where we've had these workshops where we're just trying things. We're playing around with what the poem might be saying or a part of the poem. Jan and Eloise will suddenly kind of, do a movement or, or try something that expresses some aspect of what the words are saying. And, we've been playing.
We're really lucky, actually, because Michelle is a really good dancer. She does adult ballet, which I didn't know at all. And
I think I did know that, but
and,
yeah.
so, and so she's actually dancing in the show as well.
Oh wow!
A little bit,
Yeah,
a
no,
little
no,
bit.
really good. She's really good. And yeah, I mean, just to give you the kind of blurb about the show, which kind of would help get a kind of handle on where we've got to with it. Basically, we've been working with. I've just written a piece for a French puppet company, so they're making for this show. They're making a magic pop-up book for it, which a lot of the impetus for the things that happen in the show come from. So basically, the kind of and we talked a lot, didn't we, about why. What does that add? What does a show about Paper Crusade add to Paper Crusade, or and vice versa? So the idea is that the show is almost like footnotes, kind of footnotes to the book. It's almost like a way into the book for people to kind of understand the themes, to get a sense of atmosphere from it, and hopefully lead them to the book. So the kind of parallel metaphor that we've come up with in the show is this: that there are 3 theatre technicians on stage as the audience comes in, and one of them is spark out on the floor, possibly drunk or possibly electrocuted. We haven't decided.
Or maybe just fell off a ladder. I don't know.
That's Michelle.
Yeah.
Right.
And there is no set to speak of on the stage at first, except for the bits of an uncompleted projection screen, and a few other things scattered about, wires and stuff, because these techs are in the middle of making a show. And they're classic techs, so they've got heavy metal T-shirts on and bunches of keys and stuff. Anyway, so the conceit is that Michelle is a technician who is unconscious, and she wakes up to find herself in the world of this collection of the poetry. She emerges from under this kind of tarpaulin at the beginning. The tarpaulin is put over her. She's got dungarees on. When it's pulled off her, she's got a kind of Gothic Victorian dress on, and has been kind of washed up on this shore. And the book that was showing that was being used by the techies as a kind of set model has become one of her father's magic books. And as she goes through the pages, the things she finds in the book, she opens a page, they influence the things that happen on the stage. And then gradually, throughout the show, the techies play the parts of the other people in the book. So that's basically the conceit that we've come up with. So
this is sort of standard book size pop-up, is it? Or is it bigger?
It's a meter.
It's 50 centimeters.
50 centimeters.
Right.
Yeah.
I was thinking it needs to be bigger.
It's really, the emphasis isn't really on the pop-up book. It kind of is a way of moving the action forward. It kind of punctuates the show.
I think, I guess for me, since I don't have a lot of experience in theater, and it's just been this very new, kind of adventurous thing for me. It's a little scary. I mean, I would be lying if I said I wasn't quite nervous about being on stage and not reading poems, but actually performing them as
having to remember it all.
Yeah, that's really difficult to memorize poems, actually.
Having to remember and having to perform it in a way that would be very different from, when I've read them at a launch or online reading or whatever, and I have my trusty book with me and I read with the line breaks or whatever. It's going to be a kind of different way of approaching the same material. So, I think I'm a bit nervous about that, and a bit nervous about moving from place to place on stage, because one of the other things when you're reading a poem is you're pretty much standing there, or you're sitting in front of a Zoom, your camera on your computer on a Zoom call. And so there's something about acting, about moving from one part of the stage to another with some kind of purpose.
Yeah,
Exactly.
rather than just, now I'm over here.
I mean, all of that, and interacting with props and things like that, it's completely new to me. And it's exciting in a lot of ways, because I feel as though creatively that, there's been this, it's just been this amazing kind of creative meeting of the minds. And I love the way that, one person will have an idea and somebody else will say, yeah, and da. And we build and build and build. And then all of a sudden we've come up with something that I certainly wouldn't have come up with on my own. So, I think that's really, really exciting. And it's given me kind of ideas for other things, or, even new ways to approach things that I'm writing on my own, just thinking about the way that you work with other people. But yeah, I mean, it's an entirely new process. And so, I'm the idea of being in a costume and being on stage, I'm really excited and really terrified. And somebody might have to kind of pat me on the head and calm me down.